Think we have, thank you. Um, I think we're gonna start, we do have, for a quorum. So I'm gonna call this meeting to order. This is the Commission on Chicago Landmarks. Today's date is Thursday, September 12th. I'm doing the roll call of the commission. Vice Chair, Commissioner Jekowitz,
Present.
Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Fair, Commissioner Rubin. And we have two more coming. Hopefully, I am Commissioner Wong. We do have a quorum. I would like to ask anyone wishing to make a statement on today's agenda to complete a public comment card and give the card to a member of the staff. Comment cards are available at the door. As a courtesy to other individuals wishing to offer comments, we ask that members of the general public limit your statements to 3 minutes or less. When the time comes for public comment on the individual item on the agenda, I'll call the names from the cards and ask you to come forward to the microphone to make your statement. Please state your name and the interest, organization, or company you represent, if any. First item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the previous meeting. This was the regular meeting of August 8th, 2024. Is there, those were included in your packages. Any discussion on those minutes? Seeing none, I'd like to request a motion.
So moved.
So moved by Commissioner Jekowitz and second Commissioner Fair. All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Second item on the agenda is the preliminary landmark recommendations for the Harris Trust and Savings Bank located at 111 West Monroe Street in the 34th Ward. And Matt, this is yours.
Thank you. Thank you, Chairman Wong and members of the Landmarks Commission. For your consideration today is a preliminary landmark recommendation for the former headquarters of the Harris Trust and Savings Bank. The building is a work in two parts. In the center of this photo stands the 20-story brick and granite classical revival style bank building constructed by Harris in 1911. And to the left is a fully integrated 23-story stainless steel and glass international style addition constructed by the bank in 1960. Both buildings are interconnected. And in my report, I'm going to discuss these separately because they are so different. The project is going to be familiar to those of you who serve on the Permit Review Committee, for in June, the owners, the Prime Group and Capri Investors LLC presented their plans to the PRC in anticipation of this landmark designation. As part of the LaSalle Street Reimagined initiative, these buildings will be converted into a mixed income residential and hotel building. The PRC approved the project with conditions, and now the owners have asked us to initiate the landmark designation process. The paired buildings are located at the southwest corner of Clark and Monroe Streets in the Loop. We recommend that the Harris buildings meet 3 criteria for landmark designation, including criterion 1 for the former financial institution's role in the city's economic life. In 1883, 35-year-old Norman Waite Harris founded the N.W. Harris and Company, a small Chicago-based investment banking firm that specialized in the brokerage of municipal bonds. The establishment of new cities in the Midwest created a profitable market in municipal bonds, particularly for East Coast investors. As the institution profited, in 1907, it incorporated as the Harris Trust and Savings Bank, and at that time, it was selling about $70 million worth of bonds per year. In 1909, the site at 111 West Monroe was purchased. A 6-story building on the site was demolished, and the architectural firm of Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge was commissioned to design a new 20-story bank for Harris, which was completed in 1911, as depicted in these historic postcards. Harris is one of several institutions, financial institutions in Chicago. Like Harris, most located their headquarters near the Federal Reserve Bank on LaSalle Street, Canyon, and nearby Monroe, Dearborn, and Clark Streets. Two examples that have already been designated as Chicago landmarks are shown here. And these institutions typically design their banks like classical temples, which is what architect Louis Sullivan famously poked fun at, is that bankers should wear togas and conduct their business in Latin. But the stability of classical architecture really did appeal to banks and their clients. And we also recommend that the 1911 building meets criterion 4 for architecture. When it was completed in 1911, Harris Bank occupied the double-height first floor and basement of the building, with the upper floors of the 20-story tower providing rental income. Only the north elevation of the building is treated architecturally. And here, Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge employed a tripartite facade arrangement. The highlight of the design is the four-columned portico with giant order Ionic columns rendered in polished pink granite. The entrance doors are deeply recessed to reveal the massive quality of the exterior wall to emphasize a sense of security for customers. If that wasn't enough, a pair of sentinel lions stand watch over the entrances. These were cast in bronze by the McGann & Son Company of Boston. The lions would also become, for decades, a marketing symbol for the bank. Just looking at the 1911 building, we also recommend that it was designed by a significant Chicago architectural firm known as Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge. The firm was formed by architects who worked for Boston architect Henry Hobson Richardson, who was well known for his use of the Romanesque style. Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge, however, turned away from the Romanesque and embraced classical design. That's seen in one of the early Chicago commissions, the Art Institute of Chicago from 1893, which was built for the World Columbian Expo and is also obviously a linchpin in the historic Michigan Boulevard district. They also designed the city's Beaux-Arts Public Library in 1897, now the Chicago Cultural Center, which is a landmark as well. The Preston Bradley Hall, Tiffany Dome, and the Grand Army of the Republic Hall are arguably some of the finest interiors in the city. Another designated Chicago landmark by the firm is the Georgian-style Chicago Orphan Asylum, now Baptist Institute in Washington Park. And the firm and its successor also designed several buildings for the University of Chicago, including this Ida Noyes Hall and Mandel Hall in the collegiate Gothic style. I'd like to turn now to the 1960 addition to Harris Bank, which is known as the East Tower, which we also recommend to be a significant work of architecture. Harris Bank survived the Great Depression, and after World War II, the company continued to grow and became one of the city's leading banks. To expand its operation, a new building was needed, the East Tower, adjacent to the 1911 building, to provide space for the bank's nearly 2,000 employees. East Tower, an international-style skyscraper, was designed by Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill and finished in 1960. The two buildings are interconnected at every level, though the connection to the 19 building is recessed so as not to overwhelm it. It's a fine example of the international style, emphasized by flat wall planes, express structure, and the absence of ornament. These photos show the cold rolled brushed stainless steel details with very precise design and fabrication. This building too is designed by a significant architectural firm. In 1960, Harris Bank turned to Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill, with partner Walter Netsch leading the project. We recently recognized the importance of Walter Netsch when we designated the home he designed for himself and Dawn Clark Netsch in Old Town in 1974. As a partner at SOM, Netsch developed the conceptual designs for the inland steel building, which was completed in 1957. That building expresses its structure with stainless steel, a technique which was also used for the Harris Bank East Tower, which is just 1 block away. After the East Tower, SOM continued to make major additions to Chicago's skyline, most notably the Hancock Building in 1969 and the Sears Tower of 1973, then the world's tallest building. In terms of integrity, both buildings are excellent. Obviously, occupied by a bank for many years, they had the resources to care for them. The only change to the 1911 building is the loss of the cornice, which is pretty common for vintage skyscrapers in Chicago. It doesn't really diminish the building's value. And as far as I can tell, the 1960 building shows no apparent changes to the exterior. So to conclude, as I mentioned, the Prime Group and Capri investors have requested this designation. Alderman Conway is in support, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Matt. Does any of the commission members have any questions for Matt? Right?
I do. Matt, could you remind us whether or not the bronze lions are part of the recommended designation as exterior facade?
Yeah, if you'd like to add that specifically as part of the significant features, we could do that. They're part of the facade, so it's kind of assumed.
Right.
But if you want that added clarity, we could make it specific.
I think that would be terrific, although I welcome comments from my colleagues on the commission if anyone feels differently.
I think that if they are as part of the original building, and we should add that.
We'll call them out in
them
the
out
significant
specifically
features
for that.
specifically. We could do that, and we'll revise the resolution before you for that.
Also, for the record, I just wanted to indicate that Commissioner Boatwright and Commissioner Hughes are here, have joined us. Add them to the record. Any other questions? Yeah, Commissioner Fair.
Just a clarification about, we're landmarking all of the exteriors, but I noticed the interior, particularly the entry lobby, was not included. I know part of that, or the PRC review is being modified, but were any of the elements, some of the columns within that space, for example, considered for being included as well?
We have not included the interior. We feel that it's been changed quite a bit, and we feel that the treatment that you've reviewed at PRC is a good one for the interior. So that's not part of staff's recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? If not, we'll call for public comments. Mr. Miller.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We're here to enthusiastically support this landmark designation of the former Harris Trust and Savings Bank complex at 111 to 119 West Monroe Street in the heart of Chicago's financial district. The Harris Bank complex and property is really composed of 2 buildings, as you heard in the presentation, one from 1910 by Shepley, Rutan, and Coolidge, which grew out of the architectural firm of H.H. Richardson, and the second one from the period of 1958 to 1960, just next to it, interconnected with it by Skidmore, Owings & Merrill, and specifically Walter Netsch, 2 very important firms, and 2 amazing buildings built 50 years apart, but sharing so many of the same properties and composition, if you will, as they're interconnected and speak to one another. And this is really amazing. You also have an official statement and letter from us on your desks before you. But the East Tower, as well, it really represented a new commitment to downtown Chicago. It was originally proposed in 1954. It was built a few years later after Richard J. Daley became mayor because of height limitations and other issues tied to zoning, as we would call it today. But really 2 remarkable buildings that both in 1911 and 1960 were a great commitment to our city. And just wanted to also emphasize that the 1958 building really did acknowledge the commitment to the loop after 2 decades or so of really little building following the Great Depression and the 1929 crash. So really and a World War II. So really two remarkable buildings side by side that are so much a part of Chicago's financial district. And we also want to state that, you know, the 1960 building, let's call it, was really a new idea. The idea that a bank no longer looked like a fortress or a Greek temple, but could be a tall, modernist building was really forward thinking. And it really set the whole idea for banks in Chicago and New York to really look at this new model, this international style model. So wanted to mention that. Lastly, of course, there's so much here to say. The bas-reliefs of the lions were extremely important. They were once upon a time important landmarks that symbolized our city and the financial district. And that was part of a campaign for a long time to market these lions as Hubert the Lion, but also little banks that modeled the bas-reliefs lion that some of us had growing up, and you would take to the bank. And I have to say that those lions on the exterior facade of the building were so important to so many of us growing up in Chicago. They were equivalent to the Marshall Field clocks in the lions that are in front of the Art Institute. We would also like to see the developer and owner preserve that amazing 2-story lobby that reflects these ionic columns on the outside.
Thank you, Mr. McGill. Nobody else has signed up to speak. Any further discussion? If not, I'd like to call for a request of motion to adopt the preliminary landmark recommendation for the Harris Trust and Savings Bank located at 111 West Monroe Street. Is there a motion? Motion by Commissioner Burns. Second by Commissioner Jekowitz. Let me do the roll call. Commissioner Boatright, Commissioner Fair, Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Rubin. I am a yes as well. The motion passes unanimously. The third item on the agenda is the Kingdom Baptist Church. This is a preliminary landmark recommendation located at 301 North Central Avenue in the 37th Ward. And Dan Kleiber, it's yours.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Commissioners. For your consideration today is a preliminary recommendation for the landmark designation of the Kingdom Baptist Church building located at 301 North Central Avenue. I want to note right at the outset that this is a recommendation originated as a suggestion by the church leadership at Kingdom Baptist Church through the Commission's Program Committee in September of 2023. For orientation, the Kingdom Baptist Church is located in Chicago's Austin community area on the far west side of Chicago at the northeast corner of West Fulton Street and North Central Avenue in the 37th Ward. Of the 7 possible criteria for landmark designation, we recommend that the building meets 3 of these, including criterion 1 for representation of the city's heritage. Today's Kingdom Baptist Church building was constructed by the 15th Church of Christ scientists. The congregation was founded in 1914 and traces its roots to the Church of Christ Scientists, a denomination founded in 1879 in Boston, Massachusetts by Mary Baker Eddy. When 15th Church was founded, it consisted of approximately 500 members. Before the completion of the building, the congregation met in the Masonic Hall located across the street. In March of 1915, the present site was purchased to construct the building. However, it would be over 10 years before phase 1 of the building was completed. The congregation believed in constructing the building as funding was available and thus completed the structure in 3 phases over 18 years. The first phase was completed in 1926 and consisted of constructing the basement, which would house the auditorium and Sunday school space. In January of 1932, the cornerstone of the building was laid, which marked the beginning of Phase 2. This phase encompassed the exterior superstructure of the building as well as the first floor lobby. Phase 3 was implemented between 1934 and 1943 and included the completion of the interior spaces. On April 11, 1943, the congregation held 3 ceremonies to officially dedicate the building debt-free. The origins of Kingdom Baptist Church began on June 20th, 1972, when a small group of faithful worshipers met for service in the home of Reverend and Mrs. James A. Horton on North Pine Street in Austin. The fledgling congregation was predominantly composed of members from Greater Union Baptist Church in Chicago's Near West Side and a designated Chicago landmark. In 1967, Reverend Horton became pastor of Greater Union Baptist Church, but left the church following a divide in the congregation regarding the relocation of the church. As city-sponsored urban renewal and block clearing programs began to alter the built environment around Greater Union, Reverend Horton believed the congregation should move to a new house of worship in Austin. Approximately 60 members left Greater Union in 1972 to eventually organize Kingdom Baptist. On July 16, 1972, with pledges and offerings of over $2,000, a deposit was made toward purchasing the 15th Church of Christ Scientist building. Additional down payments of $10,000 each were made later, and several members of the church served as guarantors on the mortgage for the property, showing their deep financial and spiritual commitment to the church. As part of their 70th anniversary, the congregation hosted a mortgage burning in June 1989 to celebrate completing the payments for the building, an achievement attributed to Reverend Horton. The first service at Kingdom Baptist was held on June 22, 1973, and 2 days later, the congregation held a marching in ceremony into the building from the Pine Street residence. Within the first few years, the congregation established several community and internal programs, including Kingdom Day Daycare Center, after-school program mission meetings, Bible class, a substance abuse ministry, and an evangelistic ministry. In addition to history, the building is an outstanding work of architecture that meets criterion 4. The building highlights the evolution of architectural styles over its 18-year construction period, as it shows elements of 2 distinct styles, neoclassical and Art Deco. The front facade of the building faces west onto Central Avenue. Here, the building is defined by a monumental portico, while a short series of low steps slightly raises the portico above grade, and 6 limestone columns with Corinthian capitals enclose the portico and support an intricately carved limestone entablature. All of these elements were in the building's original design in the 1920s. By 1931, however, the design of the building was streamlined and elements of the building's original neoclassical design were eliminated. Most notably, roof line ornament was removed and replaced with a more linear design popular in the Art Deco style that we see today. In front of you now are some additional detailed photos of that front facade. And regarding the south facade facing Fulton Street, it's dominated by a 3-story tall limestone arcade. This arcade frames double height round arch windows that light the interior of the auditorium at the 2nd story. The windows are steel sash with opalescent glazing. Each arch of the arcade is surmounted by an elongated keystone. Adjacent to this arcade at the sidewalk level is a projecting vestibule with arched entrances. Above this, the facade steps back and features punched window openings that light the interior spaces within the building. And here are some details of the south facade. We recommend that the building also meets criterion 5 as the work of an important architect. The 15th Church of Christ Scientist was designed by architect Nelson Max Dunning. Born in Kenosha, Wisconsin, Dunning studied architecture at the University of Wisconsin before moving to Chicago to briefly apprentice in the office of Solon S. Beeman, who was later the chief architect for the Church of Christ Scientist. Even among his contemporary critics, Dunning became best known for his specialization in the design of large-scale industrial, commercial, and educational buildings. One of Dunning's most notable works is the American Book Company building located in Chicago's near South Side. Constructed in 1912 as the Midwest Offices, Warehouse, and Distribution Center of the American Book Company, the five-story building features finely crafted, classically influenced details in brick, limestone, and terracotta, and is a designated Chicago landmark. Other notable works of Dunning's include the American Furniture Mart at 680 North Lakeshore Drive and the former 14th Church of Christ Scientists at 4444 North Paulina. With respect to the integrity criterion, the Kingdom Baptist Church possesses excellent physical integrity in its exterior. Kingdom Baptist Church retains its historic location, setting, exterior design, materials, and workmanship. Few significant alterations have been made to the historic house of worship. Known alterations include the replacement of at least some of the building's roof surfaces, replacement of windows at the east of the south, on the east end of the south, as well as the east facades, installation of a chairlift and ramp, and the addition of the wrought iron fence at the front around a portion of the perimeter. At left is a rendering of the building published in the Tribune in 1931, while at right is a current photo of the building. In conclusion, the building is located in the 37th Ward, and Alderman Mitz is aware of the proposed designation. With us today in the chambers are multiple members of the church. Pastor Clemens was not able to join today as he is actually a teacher during the day, but we do have a support letter from Pastor Clemens on behalf of the whole church. Special thanks to Erica Ruggiero, multiple members of the church who provided oral histories for this designation, as well as Lysette Herndon, who made the original suggestion to the program committee last year. We recommend that the significant historical and architectural features of the building be preliminarily identified as all exterior elevations, including roof lines of the building. You have a preliminary landmark recommendation to that effect.
Thank you, Dan. Does the commission have any questions for Dan? Commissioner Fair.
Sorry to sound like a broken record. I noticed in the packet there was, note given to some of the interiors. I think the main, chapel space and then some of the light fixtures. Just, curious around if there was thought given to having that be a part of the landmarking as well.
At this time, that wasn't something that we were recommending with the church not wanting to impede on their ability to practice as they wish. So
Any other questions? The applicant is here. Would they like to
yes.
make a statement? Please, someone up to the microphone.
Good afternoon. My name is Adam Dow, and I am the trustee board chairman of Kingdom Baptist Church. I bring you greetings from the pastor of Kingdom Baptist Church, Marcus T. Clemens, who is a vocational pastor, and he wishes that he could be here to be a part of this great recommendation. I also bring you greetings from all of the members of Kingdom Baptist Church who are excited about this opportunity. Everyone from our leadership down to our last member is in full support of our building being designated as a landmark in the city of Chicago. And we are grateful to Daniel Kleiber and his team that they have took the time to assist us in making this possible. Our building, located at 301 North Central, has been a beacon of hope to so many people since it was built in the 1920s. And it has been a building dedicated to service to the people of the Austin community for almost 100 years. That service started with the first tenants of the building, the 15th Church of Christ Scientists, and that service to the Austin community continued with our founding pastor, the late Reverend James A. Horton, and the charter members of Kingdom Baptist Church, a group of people who put up their homes as collateral for the bank so that they could secure this building as not only a place of worship, not only a place to worship God, but a place where people could come and get resources like food, jobs, and financial blessings to make it through life's tough times. Today, our building is not only a place for us to have church, but it is used as a food pantry, a site for hospital-sponsored health fairs, a drug and alcohol rehabilitation ministries, violence prevention programs that are currently being put in place. And we are grateful that you all have taken the time to take an interest in our history. And we believe that the architecture of the building, the history of both churches that have occupied this building, and the history of the architect, Nelson Max Dunning, that this building should be recommended for a landmark. Thank you.
Thank you. Does the commission have any questions for Commissioner Hughes?
Not a question, but more of a comment. I'm very excited to see this structure becoming a landmark. And I want to encourage this amazing congregation and the people to stay in touch, and as they have to maintain the exterior of the building, to apply for some of those city resources that we have, like Adopt a Landmark, because this would be a perfect candidate for that.
Thank you, Commissioner Hughes. Anybody else? With that said, we'll go to public comments. Mr. Miller.
Hello, good afternoon again. Ward Miller, the Richard H. Treehouse Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. We're very excited to see this building in the Austin community come through all of you in this Landmarks Commission process to designate this building. N. Max Dunning is very well noted, but it's a crowded field in Chicago for great architects. We're known for this, but he was really, really responsible for the American Furniture Mart building, which is now a condominium building. It was one of the largest structures in the United States. When it was built, it was one of the largest conversions to residential reuse in the 1980s. And that's really noteworthy, as well as the American Book Company building, which was one of our Chicago 7 most endangered buildings a decade ago. And we're so grateful that that building has not only been turned from a vacant structure to a new use, but also that it's landmark. So this is really recognizing Max Dunning. It's also a great opportunity for the Austin community to celebrate these great buildings. We do have a number of buildings that are landmarked on the far west side of the city, but maybe perhaps not as many as we'd like to see. And this is just down the street from the Seth Warner House that was landmarked last year from 1869. So it's just wonderful to see this interest and this sort of reinvestment and renewal in the Austin community. So just wanted to thank the commission and the church for acknowledging this history and going forward with this landmark designation. We were here last year, or earlier this year, I should say, when this building was suggested for designation, and we very much support this at Preservation Chicago. So thank you.
Thank you, Ward. Any other discussion on this item? If not, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the preliminary landmark recommendation for Kingdom Baptist Church located at 301 North Central Avenue. Is there a motion? So move. Commissioner Boatright, second. Second by Commissioner Hughes. With a roll call, Commissioner Dekowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns. Yes. Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Rubin. I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Next item on the agenda is the report from the Department of Planning and Development for wax tracks located at 2449 North Lincoln Avenue in the 43rd Ward. And Commissioner Boatright, this is you.
The proposed designation of wax tracks does not raise any concerns or issues from a planning perspective, so I don't have a formal report for the commission, but I would like to state for the record that I recommend approval of the proposed designation.
Thank you. In Kendallin. This is. Oh, that's it. Ding. Your time is up. Okay, but I am requesting a motion taking the next step, right? Designation process to request consent from the property owners. Is there a motion? So moved by Commissioner Fair, second. Second by Commissioner Rubin. Commissioner Dekowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Boatright. Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Hughes. Wait, a minute, who made the motion? Commissioner, okay, thank you. I'm a yes as well. So the motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is the district boundary amendment for Newport Avenue District located 800 to 900 block of West Newport Avenue in the 44th Ward. And Alicia, it's yours.
Afternoon, Commissioners. The Newport Avenue District in the Lakeview community area was initially designated in 2005. The geography of the district is such that the CTA train tracks cross through the western end of the district, and one contributing building, the 1894 Votravers Building, lies to the west of the tracks. In 2014, as a result of the CTA's red and purple modernization plan to widen the tracks and the required Section 106 process, the memorandum of agreement required relocation of the Votravers Building 29 feet to the west and 4 feet to the south. One of the conditions of the Commission's 2020 approval of the Votravers relocation stated, quote, CTA shall work with the Commission and consent to the extension of the district boundary to include the relocated building within the Newport Avenue district prior to selling the property to a private developer or require consent as a condition of sale, end quote. Historic preservation staff have drafted a new legal description to update the Newport Avenue landmark district boundaries and added an addendum to update the landmark designation report for review by the Landmarks Commission, Zoning Committee, and for City Council approval. This slide shows the original district boundaries as drawn in 2005 before the CTA realignment with the Votravers Building on the far western edge of the district. The left-hand diagram shows the previous location of the Votravers Building in yellow. In August 2021, the building move was completed by the CTA, and the blue building footprint indicates the current positioning of the building. The current aerial view shows the original district boundaries outlined in yellow. The Votravers Building in its new location is no longer completely within the protected district boundaries, which is what this requested action seeks to resolve. The proposed technical amendment to the ordinance will extend the district boundary west towards Clark Street to capture the entire Votravers Building in its new location. In your packet was an addendum to the original landmark designation report, which has been revised to include a brief summary of the Votravers Building move and explain the reason for the boundary amendment. Staff recommends the Commission approve the resolution to recommend to City Council the boundary amendment for the Newport Avenue District. Alderman Lawson has been briefed and has no concerns with the boundary amendment as proposed. And Joe Harmoning, the Director of Real Estate for CTA, is present to address any questions. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Eilish. Does the commission have any questions for Eilish? I have a real quick question. So as this, the amendment calls for the extension actually of the boundary, there's a triangle to the west of the tracks. Is that now owned by CTA or is that?
Yes, it is. Looking at the map on the right-hand side of the slide, you'll see the Votravers Building, and then there are about 1, 2, 3 empty parcels going to the south that form a triangle. Basically, the Votravers Building and all of that surrounding land that encompasses that overall triangle shape is currently owned by the CTA and will eventually be redeveloped.
Okay, thank you. That's all the questions I had. The applicant is here. Would CTA like to make a comment? No? Yes? Okay, thanks, Jim. All right, and nobody has signed up for any public comments. Therefore, I'd like to request a motion to adopt the addendum to the Newport Avenue District Designation Report and recommend the approval of the boundary amendment for the Newport Avenue District to the City Council. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So moved, Commissioner Jackowitz, second. Second, Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Boatright, Commissioner Fair, Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Rubin. I'm a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Thank you. Next item on the agenda is a preliminary decision on permit application for demolition pursuant to 2-120-740 through 2-120-825 of the municipal code. This is in the at 906 West Fulton Market in the Fulton Randolph Market District in the 27th Ward. These is yours as well.
Thank you, Commissioners. At the June 14, 2024 PRC meeting, the committee reviewed and conditionally approved a project in the West Loop's Fulton Randolph Market District involving the rehabilitation of two buildings at 900 and 910 West Fulton Market and full demolition of 906 West Fulton, the non-contributing building located in the center of the lower right photo on the screen. The PRC approval letter was included in your packet. On September 5th, 2024, Historic Preservation staff received the 906 West Fulton wrecking permit application. The larger scope of work includes rehabilitation of the 4-story corner building on the far right, additions to the 2-story building on the far left of this grouping, and new construction in between, where the non-contributing building currently stands. The PRC on 2 occasions found that the building at 906 is non-contributing to the character of the district, and its demolition would not be an adverse effect on the character of the landmark district. Once in 2020, reviewing an earlier but ultimately abandoned proposal, then again in June upon review of the current proposal. The building is 1 and 2 stories of masonry construction with the second story set back approximately 20 feet. The 1-story portion served as loading bays. Very little information on the building is available, but it was likely built around 1910. Physical evidence indicates the 2-story portion of the building was originally taller because the roof line shows evidence of bricked-in window openings. By 1916, however, the Sanborn map reflects its current 2-story height. The 1-story red brick loading bay portion of the building was altered in a way that is inconsistent with the character of buildings in the district. There's no record of what the original conditions were. For these reasons, the committee preliminarily recommended the building is not contributing and found that its demolition would not adversely affect the character of the district. The PRC therefore recommended that the commission recommend to City Council approval of the proposed demolition in accordance with Section 2-120-825 of the Municipal Code of Chicago, entitled Permits for Demolition of Landmarks, City Council Approval Required. That is the conclusion of my presentation.
Thank you, Eileen. Does the commission have any questions? The owners here, would they like to make a statement?
Yes, the development team is here. Their representatives, the project attorney, Tyler Manick, and the project architect, George Sorich, from
Either
Moore,
George, if you will.
as well as Jay Javers.
Yeah, that's fine. Either one.
Fire away. George Sorich with Nor Architects.
Did you have any comments on?
No, I
that?
didn't. I thought you had a question for me,
Oh.
Commissioner. My apologies. Okay,
Did anybody have any questions?
I don't have to speak. I'm good.
Sorry. I thought you wanted to make a comment on.
No,
it.
just waving to you that I'm here in
Okay.
case you had any questions.
All right, thank
All
you.
right.
Appreciate it. Okay, and nobody signed up to speak on this item. Therefore, I'd like to request a motion to approve the resolution to City Council recommending approval of the demolition of 906 West Fulton Market. Is there a motion? So move, Commissioner Boatright, second. Second, Commissioner Fair. Commissioner Jekowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Hughes. Commissioner Rubin. I'm a yes as well. The motion carries. Congratulations. Okay. Next item on the agenda is the citywide Adopt a Landmark Fund application for the Pentecostal Church of Holiness. This is located at 4208 West 15th Street in the 24th Ward. And Dan, this is yours. Thank you. Okay.
Stealing churches. Good afternoon, Commissioners. In 2021, we informed you of 12 projects that DPD conditionally awarded grants to from the 2021 Adopt a Landmark application funding round. You may recall that each of the projects are required to come back to the Commission for a vote once their scope and budget are fully developed. One of the applicants, the Pentecostal Church of Holiness, has finalized the budget and scope for their project at the landmark building of the same name. The church is requesting $248,000 in Adopt a Landmark funds for exterior envelope work totaling $248,000. For orientation, the Pentecostal Church of Holiness is located at the northwest corner of West 15th Street and South Keeler Avenue within the North Lawndale community area and the 24th Ward. The Pentecostal Church of Holiness, formerly Our Lady of Lourdes Parish, has had a long history at this location. From its founding in 1892 by a small group of Czech parishioners to its growth and construction efforts in 1932, to its presence in the North Lawndale community during the 1960s civil rights era, to the present-day congregation, the church exemplifies the important role that religious congregations have played in the cultural and social history of Chicago's neighborhoods. It was designated a Chicago landmark in May of 2021. Based on an assessment completed by Wisjani Elsner of the entire property and provided to the church through Landmarks Illinois, the Adopt a Landmark scope of work for the project includes primarily exterior masonry work that was highlighted by WJE in their assessment. And just for orientation, this work is focused on the bell tower and church building itself as shown on the diagram at left. The administration building to the north is actually not part of the designation. Before you now are a sample of photos showing some existing conditions. In particular, the photos of the limestone surrounding the rose window already exhibited deterioration at the time of the WJE assessment. And unfortunately, as you can see, some of the elements actually failed and fell to the ground late last year, showing the immediate need to address these particular issues. In terms of the actual scope, the majority is on the main south facade, and specifically, it includes repointing the entire south facade, repair, replacement, and rebuilding of the failed cast stone at the south row's window, panels, medallions, and other trims, removal and resetting of the stone cap units at the roofline, removal of and rebuilding of a single face withe of bricks in select areas, and then finally, removal of efflorescence around a portion of the bell tower, and that work is on all sides of the bell tower. The east elevation is primarily limited to cleaning of the efflorescence on the bell tower, but also there is one small shed roof off of the main sanctuary space, and that will be reshingled with new flashing and associated masonry work to the shed roof. Similarly, there is work to the shed roof on the west elevation as well. The resolution before you to grant the Adopt a Landmark funds to the applicant includes an Exhibit A, which outlines the scope of work and budget, which I just summarized, and which includes $248,000 in grant funds for the $248,000 project. This resolution and drawings were included in your packets. In addition, Exhibit A includes the main conditions associated with the project. In summary, the conditions are that all work must be submitted to DPD for prior review and approval. The work must be done in accordance with the Secretary of the Interior standards. The applicant will notify staff of any undocumented conditions. The applicant will enter into an escrow agreement to assure the project is completed and paid for in a timely manner, and that the applicant will provide to DPD the necessary documentation of the project so that staff can also give an informational overview of the project to the commission once it is completed. Should you vote to approve the project, the department will then enter into a written agreement with the applicant that will incorporate the resolution. The Pentecostal Church of Holiness anticipates beginning the work this fall. Again, project is located in the 24th Ward, and Alderwoman Scott is aware of the project. And with us in the chambers are pastors Sean Johnson, as well as Lafayette McGarry of Pentecostal, and Tim Magner, the architect. Thank you.
Thank you, Dan. Does the commission have any questions for Dan? If not, would the applicants like to make a statement?
Good afternoon. I would like to express my heartfelt gratitude to Mayor Johnson, Commissioner Boatwright, Chairman Wong, and the Commission on Chicago Landmarks members for your vision and commitment to preserving and investing in historic spaces. Thanks to the invaluable support of our community and governmental partners, the Pentecostal Church of Holiness was honored to receive landmark designation in 2021. While COVID-19, the pandemic, delayed our progress, we have since assembled a dedicated team and are now steadily moving towards full restoration, with the citywide Adopt the Landmark Fund playing a pivotal role in this effort. I would like to acknowledge the diligent work of Ms. Bonnie McDonald, Susan German, and the entire team at Landmarks Illinois. Their unwavering guidance and support throughout this journey have been truly invaluable. They fully embody the mission of preserving, protecting, and promoting Illinois architectural and historic resources through advocacy and education. A special thanks to Mr. Matt Crawford and Mr. Daniel Klaber. Despite numerous professional and personal challenges, you have led and guided and stood with the Pentecostal Church of Holiness every step of the way. Your professionalism, competence, and persistence have been a source of motivation for our entire team. So thank you, with both heart and mind, ensuring a thoughtful and balanced approach throughout this project. I am honored today to be joined by the esteemed members of our community, Pastor Lafayette McGarry, who is our Restoration Initiative consultant, and Mr. Tim Magner, the architect for this project, both who have worked tirelessly to ensure that this renovation meets all the regulated criteria of the Adopt a Landmark Restoration Project. I would like to personally thank you both and to recognize them for their invaluable contributions and dedication. About a year ago, a cast stone, as you saw, fell from the rose window, causing further damage to the front facade of the building. Thankfully, no one was injured, and no worship services were scheduled that day. However, this incident could have resulted in a catastrophe. Currently, the front doors of the church remains closed and sectioned off for safety reasons. They must be repaired so the community can once again enter the house of prayer freely without hesitation to worship and receive services. As I reflect on this moment, I am reminded of a 2012 article from the U.S. Catholic organization titled "The Fight Over Fighting Poverty." In it, Auxiliary Bishop Michael Dempsey, the former pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes Church, shared how he went door to door in his poverty-stricken parish, asking how the church could best serve the community. The response was clear. People needed more than just charity. They needed skills, encouragement, and support to tackle societal injustices. When Bishop Dempsey became Auxiliary Bishop of Chicago in 1968, he carried this vision to the National Conference of Bishops As he said in the Chicago Defender, I want to dispel the myths about the poor. I want justice for all, not charity. I have a hunger and thirst for justice, and the Lord promised that it would be satisfied. Since its inception, Our Lady of Lourdes Catholic Church, and now the Pentecostal Church of Holiness, our church has faithfully served the North Lawndale community by providing educational access, equitable opportunities, youth violence programs, economic empowerment, and job training for its residents. As a community anchor, Pentecostal Church of Holiness is committed to creating spaces where the Chicago community is valued, engaged, and respected. Guided by this mission, the church has set an ambitious goal to beautify the neighborhood and foster economic sustainability. From our ongoing ministry of feeding and educating the community to initiating self-sufficiency programs, Pentecostal Church of Holiness remains steadfast in supporting and strengthening North Lawndale. We are proud to partner with our new neighbors, the Lawndale Christian Legal Center, whose mission is to provide criminal legal defense, wraparound services, and restorative justice to North Lawndale residents. Additionally, we are collaborating with the Faith in Place, a Chicago-based organization that unites religious leaders to address environmental sustainability. Together, we aim to combat environmental injustice and improve air quality by planting fruit tree paths in our Veterans Memorial Peace Garden. Finally, our church has been fundraising for necessary repairs through our restoration campaign, and will continue to do so. But we recognize the essential role of the Adopt a Landmark Fund and what it plays and how it plays in supporting our efforts. As pastor, it is my desire to collaborate with other leading organizations to help North Lawndale dispel the myth of the poor and reveal that it is not a wasteland, but it is a promised land. Bishop Dempsey's nationally recognized program, LBJ, or Lawndale for Better Jobs, and his tireless fight for equity will not go unnoticed. We believe that his legacy will be fulfilled through continued collaboration between our community leaders and the approval of funding for the masonry work. Thank you for this opportunity, and God bless you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions or comments? Thank you so much for everything, and the collaborativeness is amazing. Your outreach to all your partners, I think, is just wonderful, and we continue to support you in that. Couple people have signed up to speak on this item. Kendra Parson.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is Kendra Parson. I am the Advocacy Manager for Landmarks Illinois. I'd like to express my organization's support for Pentecostal Church of Holiness's Adopt a Landmark application. As Dan's presentation made clear, these funds are urgently needed to allow this building to continue serving its congregation and community. In 2020, Landmarks Illinois arranged a pro bono conditions assessment by WJE, which informed the scope of work before you here today. The same year, we awarded the congregation one of our own grants through our Preservation Heritage Fund for priority repairs. This is a much larger grant. We supported the Chicago Landmark designation of the church in 2021, and we are glad to offer our continued support to Pentecostal Church of Holiness as its leadership and congregation move forward with their efforts to be the best possible stewards of this building. Thank you.
Thank you, Kendra. Ward?
Yes, Commissioners, just for the record, Ward Miller, Executive Director of Preservation Chicago. I just want to again support this building, the Pentecostal Church of Holiness, formerly Our Lady of Lourdes Church in the North Lawndale community on Chicago's west side. You know, these are really exciting projects, and it talks about, it sort of reflects on the power of landmarks, and also this program, the Adopt a Landmarks program, which is sort of a developer-funded project. But, you know, we're only seeing 10% of the monies that that are for the neighborhood the NOF, the neighborhood funding projects, go to landmarks. It's only 10% of that neighborhood opportunity fund. It would be great to expand that to 20% or greater looking to the future. We understand that there's no money in this fund to fund projects this year, but I'm hoping that if it were a higher percentage, that perhaps next year we could continue these types of programs because they're so exciting. They show that they shine like a beacon in the communities, these landmark buildings. And it's so important to recognize them and also to be able to support these landmark buildings, which are really cornerstones of our communities. This was also a former Roman Catholic church that was closed. We've seen a lot of those happen, a lot of closings in recent years, including Our Lady of Lourdes on the north side, which includes a shrine and a grotto. And it's just wonderful to see these structures repurposed or reused. They're temples of faith. They continue as temples of faith. But it'd be really wonderful to see more of these buildings, these types of buildings, these houses of worship brought into the landmarks discussion and considered for designation, but also to consider expanding that Adopt the Landmarks program from 10% to 20% or greater as part of the Neighborhood Opportunity Fund. So I just wanted to share all these things. Thank you again for considering this designation and this Adopt the Landmark grant. This is really a wonderful day for Chicago's North Lawndale community and Chicago's West Side. Thank you.
Thank you, Ward. Nobody else has signed up to speak. Is there any further discussion on this item? If none, I'd like to request a motion to approve the resolution for a citywide Adopt a Landmark Fund grant for the Pentecostal Church of Holiness. Is there a motion? So moved, Commissioner Hughes. Second, Commissioner Rubin. Commissioner Jekowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Boatright. Commissioner Burns. Commissioner Fair. And I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. Okay, moving right along. The next item is the Class L Property Tax Incentive Final Certification for the LaSalle Street Cable Car Powerhouse, located at 500 North LaSalle Street in the 42nd Ward. And Eilish, this is yours. A former Michael Jordan restaurant.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. For the record, Eilish Tuffy, Commission staff. Certification of the scope of work and budget for a Class L project is the final step by the Commission to administer this incentive. The certification would then be used by the building owner to complete their application with the Cook County Assessor. The three-story timber frame cable car powerhouse at the intersection of LaSalle and Illinois was built in 1887 for the North Chicago Street Railroad Company. After 3 years sitting vacant, on September 14th, 2023, City Council approved a Class L real estate property tax incentive for the rehabilitation of the building. The revised project narrative and final project budget have been provided at your place before you. The powerhouse contained rotating motors, such as those seen in the diagram on the left, that continually moved a network of cables just under the street. Cable cars had a grip to clamp onto the moving cable and be pulled forward until it released at its next stop. Cars carried commuters under the Chicago River through the former LaSalle Street Tunnel across to the loop. The powerhouse building is a rare surviving remnant of what during the 1890s was the largest cable car network in the country. The LaSalle Street Cable Car Powerhouse was designated a Chicago landmark in 2001. For many years, it housed a succession of restaurants, including Michael Jordan's Steakhouse and most recently Gino's East, until that establishment closed in March of 2020 at the outset of the COVID pandemic. The applicant, 500 North LaSalle LLC, purchased the building in 2015. They were responsible for rehabilitating the powerhouse for its current tenant, Hawksmoor Steakhouse, based in England. In preparation for the new tenant, the landmark underwent exterior masonry repair and replacement, including tuck pointing as necessary to address all condition issues. The masonry was then spot cleaned where needed. Several ground floor door openings were shortened to serve as windows. Infill masonry was installed in these areas to match the historic brick, and new limestone sills were installed to match existing historic fabric. Existing sash windows were retained and repaired. Ground floor entrances were updated to meet current code requirements. The large canopy over the main entrance was replaced with a much thinner design that reveals more of the facade. And where there once were two large vertical blade signs on the building, the side elevations blade sign was removed, anchors patched, and the blade sign on LaSalle was significantly decreased in bulk and size. In addition to the more visible work, the building also received a new roof membrane. These images show in the upper left a former doorway and the after image below of that same opening in the background, next to an original opening in the foreground. On the right is the previous appearance of the main entrance with multiple doorways of varied design, and the current main entrance in the bottom photo, which has been consolidated and the surrounding masonry repaired. The interior scope of work included full rehabilitation of the core mechanicals and electricals, including life safety, fire suppression upgrades. Elevator upgrades and a new ADA lift by the main entrance were also completed within the scope. Throughout the building, structural timbers were reinforced with steel where needed for long-term stability. The minimum required expenditure for Class L eligible expenses was roughly $2.19 million. The owner spent $3.6 million for Class L eligible scope of work, which exceeds the minimum investment. In total, the overall investment in the property by both the owner and tenant was approximately $8.6 million. The project complies with the Chicago Sustainable Development Policy. The operation of the restaurant has generated currently approximately 80 full-time jobs. Further full-time employment of 120 plus jobs at the restaurant is expected after opening for lunch full-time and opening for private parties. The project has also generated approximately 160 temporary union construction jobs with over 40,000 hours worked on the project. Staff recommends that the commission certify completion of the Class L project. Representatives of the owner are here to respond to any questions you may have. Jay and Charlie Javers, the developers, along with their project architect and the team's attorney. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Eilise. Does the commission have any questions? No. The applicant is here. Would you like to make a statement? No? Okay. Any questions for the applicant? You don't want another cost of the steak? You want to see a menu? Okay, Mr. Blakemore, stand up to speak.
Looking around and I'm seeing these empty.
Step away from the mic for a second.
That's always happen when I come to this commission on Chicago land. And on a historical building. And I don't see people being involved at all. I see the same familiar face, this gentleman with Treehouse Foundation, the same people. So I challenge you, sir, you acting as the chair, to inform and engage people, the citizens, about your mission and your purpose. And perhaps you would have more citizens that involved. I think this is very, very important. And the reason why the government is in effect is because the people are not educated, they're not informed, and they're not enlightened. And you choose to keep them that way. You choose to keep them that way, where you can control the outcome. Now, wouldn't that be beautiful if this was this afternoon where the working poor people could come and the place will be filled with, and I always go back to racism. I just left going to a meeting out at the Health and Hospital System. The reason black people, there's one or two in here now, are behind because these old ones, like me, have failed. We have failed. So anytime they have a public meeting dealing with landmark, historical buildings, you, you want your people to be here because these are our treasures. Now I know exactly. I think that building used to be a Michael Jordan used to have something there, right here on the sale. So again, it's very important for a man of Mr. Blakemore caliber to be seen, and the ancestors appreciate me. And I always play the race card. You can count the historical buildings and everything, and you can count how many black people are present. But you got black faces in high places. The chairman, Sierra, they say she's very efficient and effective in her job. But to be a good leader, you must have followers. And you must have a lot of people that look like you here. If they don't know about this, you're supposed to teach them the purpose. Teach them your job, what you're supposed to do to represent them. But they don't know. They don't know, and you're not trying to teach them. So you got this high position over, took this Jewish man place, and then Mr. Cox's place. You took his place. Then the other man came before Mr. Cox. So Mr. Blakemore has a history, and the game never changed. And sometimes they say, beep, 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 your 3 minutes is up. We didn't have that before because we didn't use this room. Most of the time, we used this room over in 1A. And so I could just get up and sign up for everything. But now things have changed. And they're not changing for the better. They're changing for the worse. Beep, 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 beep. Mr. Baker, your turn.
Thank you, Mr. Blakemore. Thank you, sir. Nobody else has signed up to speak on this matter. Is there any further discussion? If not, I'd like to request a motion that the commission certifies that the project has been substantially completed in accordance with the approved ordinance and meets the eligibility requirements for the Class L incentive for the LaSalle Street Cable Car Powerhouse. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So move, Commissioner Boatright, second. Second by Commissioner Burns, Commissioner Jekowitz.
Yes.
Commissioner Fair, Commissioner Hughes, Commissioner Rubin. I am a yes as well. The motion carries unanimously. Okay. With that, Permit Review Committee reports. Commissioner Jekowitz.
Chairman, the Permit Review Committee reviewed 6 projects at its August 8th, 2024 meeting. All 6 projects were approved with conditions. The report summarizing the scope of the proposed projects and the committee's decisions was included in your packets. This report is for your information and for the record.
Thank you. Emily?
So for the month of August, staff approved 145 permit applications with a total of 188 reviews. And the average number of days to issue approval or corrections was 6 days.
Thank you. Next item on the agenda is are there any questions for Emily? No, thank you. Next item is the announcement of the meeting of the program committee, review of suggestions received from the public for Chicago landmark designation and nominations to the National Register of Historic Places. The program committee's review of suggestions received from the public for Chicago landmark designation and nominations to the National Register of Historic Places will be held on Friday, September 20th at 1:00 PM at City Hall, 121 North LaSalle Street on the 10th floor, room 1003A. The deadline for submissions is Monday, September 16th. All suggestions must be submitted on a suggestion form available on the Historic Preservation Division pages of the Department of Planning and Development website at chicago.gov/DPD. With that, no further business, I'd like to request a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion? All in favor, say aye. Anybody opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Commissioner Jekowitz, what's your
The
time?
permit review committee will begin on time at 2:15.
2:15. There you go. Thank you, folks.